Oh snap, it's another video. So when I first started this channel, I made a series of videos about ideas for how to fix some of TF2's weapons. You know, how to make some of the too powerful ones weaker, and how to make some of the weaker ones more powerful. It wasn't that long ago, but there have been a lot of changes to the games and to some of the ideas. And you know what, this is always something that I was planning on keeping updated. So here we are, the revival of the weapon balancing series. And these are just ideas, it's not the be-all, end-all on how to balance a weapon, so don't take it too seriously now. So the shove on the shortstop has been out for a while, but did it really make the weapon any better? Honestly, it might have made the weapon worse since it replaced the bonus healing. I mean, it's just not that useful. I think the worst part about it is that it doesn't even have a third-person animation. You can't even see if someone's shoving you. If they plan on keeping it, that's something they gotta add. But I don't think the shortstop needs any gimmicks, it never really did. You can remove both the alt-fire shove and increased knockback taken and replace it with a 25% faster reload. And then there, the shortstop goes from an okay weapon that just kept getting unnecessary gimmicks slapped onto it, to a really solid mid-ranged primary for the scouts. The shortstop originally reloaded much faster, but the reload time got increased by 50%, which is where it is today. Bringing it back to that speed would probably be too much, but to make the shortstop a really good weapon again, all they really need to do is adjust the reload. The soda popper has a higher possible damage output than the stock scattergun, and it gives the ability to hype jump, which can make it very difficult for projectile classes to hit you. It's not exactly a game-breaking weapon or anything, but maybe a few adjustments could make it a little more fair. I mean, hey, it's supposed to be a modified force of nature, right? And the force of nature deals less damage per pellet? Maybe bring that minus 10% damage penalty over to the soda popper, slightly cutting its damage output. And then from there, you could probably drop the damage needed to fill hype from 350 to 300, since you'll be doing less damage overall with the gun. And then you got yourself a little less damage, a little more hype. And that's it. Fixing the Babyface's blaster is pretty simple, I think. Just increase the damage needed to drain your boost. I don't know who thought it was a good idea to make it only 25, but that means a hit from just about anything is going to remove all your boost. Increase it from 25 to 100, and then reduce the boost lost on air jump from 75% to 50%, so just half. And the Babyface's blaster is probably worth using again. You won't get knocked down to minus 10% speed every time a bullet hits you from across the map. And really, that's pretty much it. I like the kind of playstyle the backscatter encourages, but it's not that good at what it does. And what really kills it is the accuracy penalty. It forces you to get closer to land more pellets, but at that point, do you really need to mini-crit? And you know what? Why not replace both of its downsides? That way we can finally have another primary for Scout that has 6 shots. Remove the clip size penalty, remove the accuracy penalty, and replace them with a 15% damage penalty when not fired at the target's back, and a 15% slower reload speed. So there's still more encouragement to get behind the enemy, and more encouragement to make your shots count. And there you'd have a backscatter that's downsides aren't contradictory to its upsides. Like the accuracy penalty. It's kinda dumb. With the Criticola, it's pretty much as simple as going back to a previous version of the weapon, which is something the TF2 team never really seems to want to do. They always kind of try to build off newer versions of the weapon, even if that's not necessarily the best idea. So just change the 10% increase in damage taken while under effects to mini-crits taken while under effects, and then remove the 2 seconds of mini-crits after the effects end. That's pretty much it. Now it actually has a significant downside for the ability to make Scout hit harder and run faster than he already does. The damage bonus on the winger is basically insignificant for how small the clip size is. And remember, that was the original point of the weapon, just more damage and minus clip. Now it has a jump height bonus, which is neat, but maybe we put a tiny bit more focus back on the damage part. Say by increasing the damage bonus from plus 15% to plus 20%, which makes the base damage go from 17 to 18, and the clip size penalty from minus 60% to minus 50%, so from 5 shots to 6. That way you can actually make more use out of the damage, making it a little bit better for finishing people off. Pretty Boy's pocket pistol, more like pretty bad pocket pistol. It's pretty bad. And for some reason, it's probably the pistol I use most on Scouts. You gotta risk a 20% damage vulnerability to get health back. It's not a downside that makes a whole lot of sense. You could remove that and replace it with a 50% slower holster time, increasing the time taken to switch off the weapon from half a second to 0.75 seconds. Meaning if you want to get that health back, you need to commit a little more to the pistol, so there's still some risk there, but it's not nearly as handicapping. Then we could do something similar to what they did with the black box, and what they should probably do with all health on hit weapons. Increase the max health restored on hit, but have it scale with damage dealt. So let's say up to plus 10, but have it now be 1 HP per 2 damage dealt. So that means it heals more at close and mid-range, but less from a distance. And that's it. In the Halloween update of 2015, they made it so that when you're stunned by ghosts, your speed is only reduced by 25% instead of 50%. And being stunned by ghosts is pretty much the same as Sandman stun. So when I saw that, I was also kind of hoping it applied to the Sandman too, but it didn't. I mean, it already takes away your ability to fight back. Does it really need to have your speed? So just reduce the stun speed penalty from minus 50% to minus 25%. That way you could run away a little better. In a perfect world, the stun mechanic would be changed entirely, and I do have some thoughts on how to do that, but for now, I think that would be a fair enough nerf for the Sandman. For the Boston Basher, this was actually something that was tested in the TF2 beta at one point, and that is having the bleed not apply to yourself when you hit yourself. So just damage. I mean, in a game where the melee hit detection can be pretty off at times, it's not really worth losing half your health from one hit not connecting. So no more self-bleed, but increase the self-damage. Right now, the actual melee damage you take is 18, which is effectively half of the bat's 35 base damage. Increase the damage taken from 18 to 28, meaning your self-damage is increased from minus 50% to minus 20%. And this way, the Boston Basher becomes a better melee weapon for just playing around with, but still allows you to help your medic build charge with the self-damage. Yeah. The Candy Cane is another weapon that I like the concept of, but the downside tends to not make it worth using a lot of the time, with how common the explosive classes are. It's not bad, but I still think it could benefit from having its downsides changed. Remove the 25% explosive vulnerability and replace it with a 100% debuff duration on wearer. Meaning anything, fire, Jarate, bleed, milk, etc. will all last double the time. With the most common of those being Afterburn, it means if you have a run-in with a pyro, you're either going to need to get out of there and find a health kit, or kill the pyro and get the packet drops. Otherwise, you'd be burning for 20 seconds. But since that is a little bit more of a situational downside than 25% explosive vulnerability, we could put a little more focus on the Candy Cane as a utility weapon by also reducing its swing speed by 30%. Still though, I think it'd be probably overall better. Oh hey, the sound on a stick. And that got buffed a while ago. In pretty much the worst possible way. That 25% less fire damage taken while active. And since you're almost never going to be using this weapon to actually attack pyros with, since they don't really ignite and they won't take crits usually, the only reason to use it would be for Afterburn. If you take the sun on a stick out the instant you're lit on fire and the Afterburn lasts its full duration, the fire resistance only knocks off about 15 burn damage. And if you're that concerned about burning to death, Mad Milk and Bonk do a better job at stopping it. So I'd say, to help reduce the dependency on pyros, have the second successful hit in a row ignite enemy targets. So as long as you don't miss, the second hit will set your target on fire for 10 seconds. And then any hits after that will be crits. And then you could probably remove the fire resistance. It probably wouldn't need to be removed, but there's not that much point to it anyway, so... Having the Rap Assassin's ornaments shatter on surfaces is almost completely useless when it doesn't apply bleed. I mean, sure, it makes hitting people easier since you don't have to be dead on, but it only deals between 4 and 13 damage. And again, it doesn't cause bleed unless it's a direct hit. Just having any shatter cause bleeding would make it a lot better. And then that's kinda all it needs. Just easier long-range bleeding. But I'm gonna also say have the ornaments crit bleeding enemies. It's not that much damage, but it could be a fun little combo with the flying guillotine. And hey, that's what we got. What do you think? What were your ideas? Write them down in a comment. You can do that. Next time is gonna be the soldier, but I'm also thinking about doing 2 classes per video after this. Maybe not, they might be too long. But we'll figure it out as we go. Until next time, people!